When it comes to the financial meltdown, there's one question that seems to baffle just about everyone. Why didn't we see it coming? How is it possible that billions in bad investments were hidden from public view for so long? Part of the answer, according to experts, lies offshore, in the world's tax havens. Beautiful Caribbean islands, and elegant European mountain nations, where financiers can hide their investments from tax collectors and regulators.
Without tax havens, without the ability to set up disguised corporations, without the ability of hedge funds to operate offshore, this crisis would have been far less.
Offshore accounts are currently attracting the attention of prosecutors in the Bernie Madoff scandal. Investigators suspect Madoff used tax havens to keep his regulators and his clients in the dark. And like Madoff, many of the biggest financial institutions at the center of the current crisis have a history of hiding money in tax havens, including Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, Bank of America, JP Morgan, and Lehman Brothers. How much they keep in tax havens, no one knows.
This is a huge structure that is designed to disguise financial flows and asset accumulations.
Raymond Baker investigates the illegal flows of money around the world. In his book, Capitalism's Achilles Heel, he estimates Western banks and businesses hide some $1 trillion each year in tax havens.
A lot of the bad subprime mortgage paper ended up in tax havens. So the person in Cleveland or Detroit or elsewhere in the United States that is losing their house doesn't need to be aware of the mechanisms that brought about that. But that is reality, that the ability to slice and dice those packages that contain that bad paper and then squirrel it away in non-transparent entities contributed to this problem.
Jack Blum has investigated financial crime for the federal government for more than 30 years. He agrees with Baker that banks hide troubled assets offshore to keep them under the radar of regulators.
If a bank, for example, has done bad lending and they put it in the portfolio of an offshore entity, no one will be able to figure out what that offshore entity is really worth. And it's that kind of transaction that has absolutely disabled the world financial system.
Blum says it was that uncertainty that eventually made banks afraid to lend to each other.
When this meltdown came, no bank would trust any other bank in the overnight lending market. So you got to a situation where the market froze, and everybody who needs credit is absolutely up the creek.
So why didn't the banks trust each other?
Because nobody could figure out what anybody else had. And each major bank knew that other guys had bad stuff because they had bad stuff. And they had bad stuff hidden in the offshore world.
It's kind of like that scene in the movie Reservoir Dogs, when in the end, the band of crooks realize they're all too dirty to be trusted. One of the best at hiding money offshore is the same corporation that's received the most bailout money, Citigroup. And their use of tax havens has got them in trouble before. In 2003, Citigroup paid a huge settlement for helping Enron mislead investors by stashing bad investments offshore. And Jack Blum says bad investments hidden in offshore accounts are at the center of Citigroup's own current collapse.
Their balance sheet was showing these huge assets consisting of investments in offshore entities. The problem was the investments were worthless. How do you write that off and not collapse the bank? Well, that's why they came for a bailout.
In fact, taxpayers have bailed out Citigroup twice since October. They got $25 billion from the Treasury in the first round of the bailout. Just a month later, they came back for another $20 billion. And on top of the money from the bailout fund, Citigroup also struck a deal with the Federal Reserve to cover more than $300 billion in losses with taxpayer money. In total, the government could be handing over as much as $345 billion to Citigroup. And there's no telling if even that will be enough. At this point, do you think the government knows how much debt these banks really have?
I think that's the heart of the current problem. I think every bank at this point should be forced to come absolutely clean about how much money it has in these offshore shells of different kinds and how many deals there are hidden in the balance sheet and on the books. What's happened is it's a case of the government is running a fire department. They're running out with the truck to put water on the fire without asking any questions about what started the fire, or by putting water on it, are we really going to keep the fire down and solve the problem? And the answer, of course, is until they deal with this offshore mess, they're not going to solve the problem.